walk into a room. The furniture is expensive, the lines are clean, the palette is trending, and yet something feels off. Your shoulders tense, your breath shallows. There's a low-grade anxiety that you can't name. For decades, we've been told that this feeling is personal preference, bad taste, the vague dissatisfaction of modern life. But emerging research in 2016 confirms something very different. This feeling isn't a failure of gratitude. It's not your imagination, it's your amygdala, the brain's ancient threat detection center, screaming that your environment is hostile to human thriving. Here's what nobody told you when you were renovating. Your brain evolved to navigate the complex fractal-rich shelter environments of the African savanna. Trees, caves, flowing water, organic curves, and now we've confined that Paleolithic brain inside sterile, rectilinear boxes that offer high visual exposure with zero protection. Environmental psychologists call this the prospect refuge theory. Your nervous system requires two things to feel safe: prospect, the ability to see your surroundings, and refuge, a protected location that shields you, especially from behind. In nature, this meant resting against a rock wall, under a tree, overlooking a valley. Your heart rate drops, your fight-or-flight system downregulates. But the modern open concept home, it's all prospect and no refuge. You're exposed from every angle. Your brain stays in hypervigilance mode, scanning for threats that aren't there. Let's start with the color that defined the decade. Millennial gray. Grayish, sad beige. It was sold as calm, sophisticated, timeless. But here's what color psychology research actually found. Gray environments are associated with boredom, fatigue, and sadness, not with calm boreout, a state of exhaustion caused by a lack of stimulation. Your brain requires a Goldilocks level of visual complexity to function. When the environment is too sterile, it searches for stimuli that aren't there. You become restless, irritable, vaguely depressed. The trend even spreads to nurseries. Developmental psychologists raised alarms. Infants need high contrast, vibrant visual stimuli for optic nerve development. A child strictly in a beige room is being subjected to sensory deprivation in the name of Instagram aesthetics. Now let's talk about the architecture feature that promised freedom but delivered anxiety, the open floor plan. By knocking down walls to create flow and light, architects inadvertently created what I call the fishbowl effect. In an open concept home with large windows and floating furniture, you are exposed from all angles. There is no dorsal protection, nothing shielding your back. Your brain reads this as danger and it cannot fully relax. The pandemic has made this unavoidable. When families worked, schooled, and lived in the same open space, they reported profound overstimulation, inability to concentrate, and chronic stress. It wasn't just the pandemic, it was the architecture amplifying the pandemic. Here's the mistake that literally changes your brain chemistry every single night. The vast majority of homes built since 2010 rely on static, harsh overhead lighting, cooled white LEDs, 40,000 to 60,000 Kelvin. This creates a sort of perpetual noon. Your eyes contain special cells that are specifically sensitive to blue light. When stimulated at night, these cells tell your brain to suppress melatonin and produce cortisol. The result? Your body thinks it's daytime. Sleep becomes impossible. Chronic sleep disruption leads to everything from anxiety to metabolic disease. Recent studies comparing static light to dynamic daylight aligned patterns found that dynamic lighting produces approximately 40% higher melatonin levels and measurably improves sleep and cognition. Your light bulbs aren't neutral. They are either supporting your biology or fighting it. But here's the thing. The design world has woken up. 2026 marks a fundamental shift from aesthetic-focused design to feeling-focused design. From how a room looks through a camera lens to how it feels to your nervous system. The trends defining this year aren't arbitrary, but they are corrective surgeries for the environment designed to realign your space with your biology. Let's start with geometry. A 2024 peer-reviewed study used virtual reality to isolate the psychological impact of a room's shape. The finding was unambiguous. Rectangular geometry triggers negative moods. Curved geometry enhances positive mood and lowers arousal. Sharp corners activate your amygdala, the subconsciously associated with horns, teeth, and danger. Curves activate the anterior cingulate cortex, associated with safety and positive emotion. This isn't just design philosophy, it's how your brain evolved. A curved sofa is more than aesthetically inviting. It orients people towards each other. It converts the space from isolated to triggering connective conversations. And neurologically, curves reduce perceived crowding, lower stress, and improve creativity scores in experimental settings. 2026 marks an explicit rejection of cool, neutral palettes. Every major design forecaster, Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, House, is saying the same thing. Terracotta, ochre, honey gold, burnt orange, muddy green, jewel tones, etc. It's not a trend, it's a corrective neurochemistry. Warm earth tones stimulate serotonin release. They support cardiac alignment. They activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response. And when you stand in a room painted in terracotta, your nervous system receives a cascade of signals that this is safe, this is alive, this is nourishing. Beyond color, 2026 is layering textures. Surfaces designed to be touched and felt, not merely observed. Weathered woods, natural linens, materials that show age and use. Your brain has a haptic hunger, a need to engage with complex surfaces. Smooth laminate and plastics deny this input, but natural materials satisfy it. The open plan is being dismantled. In its place, the broken plan, also called emotional zoning. Smooth laminate and plastics deny this input, but natural materials satisfy it. The open plan is being dismantled. In its place, the broken plan, also called emotional zoning. This layout maintains light and sightness but uses physical and psychological barriers to reintroduce refuge. Different emotional states require different spatial enclosures. A cozy enclosed nook signals safety and rest. A parasympathetic activation. Their soft architecture. Place a console table with tall objects behind your sofa. This is a psychological wall. Your brain perceives dorsal protection. You can finally relax. Area rugs define rooms within rooms. The brain interprets the texture change as a boundary. Biophilia has been a word for years, but 2026 takes it beyond potted plants. This is Biophilic Design 2.0, anchored by something called Fractal Fluency. Fractals are self-repeating patterns found in nature, clouds, coastlines, tree branches. Your brain system evolved to process these patterns with extreme efficiency. Research shows that viewing fractals with a specific dimension, between 1.3 and 1.5, reduces physiological stress by up to 60%. It triggers alpha brainwaves, calm, alert, focused. The flat Euclidean geometry of a minimalist design, straight lines, plane surfaces, require more than metabolic energy to process. It creates subtle visual stress. Natural materials or automatic fractals. Studies show that merely touching wood induces a parasympathetic relaxation response. Plastic, glass, and metal do not trigger this. And perhaps the single most impactful intervention you can make, and the easiest to fix, is your light. The 2026 lighting protocol is simple. Morning to early afternoon, 4000 to 5000 Kelvin. Cool light mimics daylight, boosts alertness. And late afternoon to early evening, 2700 to 3000 Kelvin. Warm light mimics the sunset. It begins relaxation. And evening to sleep below 2000 Kelvin. Amber and red. It mimics firelight. It allows melatonin production. And here's the detail most people miss. Light from above signals the sun, awake, active. Light from the eye level below signals fire, rest, safety. Earth. For evening light, prioritize floor lamps and table lamps over overheads. It becomes a neurological cue for your brain. The dissatisfaction